Hello good people, I'm going to look into creating an equation from text-based information. So let me bring in some text. Let me bring in a story. So it turns out that back in the old country, my great aunt used to be a seamstress. She charged half a crown for darning of a single item, a quarter of a crown for sewing a button, 10 crowns for alterations, and 60 crowns for the ladies' special. I do not know what the ladies' special is. However, I do remember that my great-aunt had an armoire that was full of strange rolling pins and leather masks. Anyway, what we need to do is construct an equation that accounts for the cost of all services offered. To create an equation, I need to identify all of the variables in play. A good place to start is to identify what the equation is trying to solve for. In other words, what is going to be the subject of the equation that we are creating? In this case, we are after the cost of all of the services. So I'm going to write that down. And I'm going to give it a letter. I'm going to call cost C. What are the other variables in this scenario? We have darning, and I'm going to assign a letter to it. It is going to be D. Next thing, we have sewing. And seeing how we are talking about sewing of buttons, I'm going to give it a letter B. Next, we have the alterations. It will be given the letter A. And finally, we have the ladies' special. And I'm going to give it letter L. The next step is to identify the coefficients, or in other words, the numbers that are associated with these letters. The cost is what I am after, so I do not have a number for it just yet. But I do have a number for darning. It is half a crown, and I'm going to write it as 0.5. For sewing of buttons, it is 0.25 per button. For alterations, it is 10 crowns, and for the special, it is 60 crowns per client. How do I combine all of these into an equation? Ultimately, I want to figure out the total cost. So it is all about C, and I can say C equals, and now I need to think about all of the variables that contribute to the total cost. We have darning, we also have sewing of buttons, but we also have alterations, and finally we have the ladies' special. Each one of these items is associated with a cost per item. And here is my equation for this particular scenario. Let me do another example. Here we are asked to construct an equation for total time spent swimming in a pool based on the average time per lap and the number of laps. The variable that I'm trying to calculate is total time. And total time will be based on the variable of average time per lap and number of laps. I'm going to assign a letter to each. Total time will be T, average time per lap will be A, and number of laps will be N. How do I convert these three letters into an equation? Sometimes it helps to actually come up with some numbers and then work backwards. I'm going to say that the average time per lap is 56 seconds. And then I'm going to say that somebody, maybe I, swam 2 laps. How long did it take me in total? So I'm going to say that I will have 56 seconds per lap, and because I've done 2 laps, I'm going to multiply that by 2, and that will give me 112 seconds. And now I can work backwards. 56 seconds, that was the average time, or A. 2 was the number of laps, or N, and 112 seconds was the total time. So the equation for total time is A multiplied by N equals T. Let me play with this equation for a bit. T equals A multiplied by N. I can rearrange this equation to make any other variable the subject of the equation. The approach is the same as if though I was treating numbers. So let's say I wanted to make this A the subject of the equation. What is currently in the way of that? Well, it is this n. So I need to transpose the n. How do I do that? I need to consider what is currently happening to the n. Well, it is currently being multiplied. So if I want to transpose it, I need to do the inverse, which means I need to divide by n. And now on the left-hand side, I will have t divided by n equals a. So once we have an equation, even though it is all letters, we can manipulate it in the same way we manipulate any other equation to make any variable the subject of that equation. In summary, when converting text-based information into an equation, the first step is to identify the variables involved. Once you have that, identify the coefficients that are associated with those variables. I can hear you collectively cursing my name. So let me stop here and say that is all for now, and I will see you on the flip side.